Okay, this is simply video out onto a telly, and then I'm recording it with my video camera. It's the easiest way for me to get this done. Quality is much sharper within the scope, and it is that stain on the telly is because this is my old telly, which is in the spare room. So yeah, that mark just low and right of the crosshair is the television's fault. That is not representative of the quality of the screen. So what I'm doing here is I'm showing you the menus, because whilst you can record in the camera both photos and videos at full quality, you can't record when you are going through the menus. So to explain the setup of the ballistics and various other useful settings that I've worked out, I needed to be able to film the global output. When you use a micro HDMI into your telly, you can output absolutely everything that the camera sees, which is quite a cool little feature. So that's what I'm doing. So excuse the loss in quality, but I just want to show you how the menus work. Obviously, this is real time, so that crosshair is just looking at the wall, but that would normally be the whatever it is that you're looking at. You can see the range here, 51 meters. This has been on my air rifle. You can have it in yards. There's the inclinometer on the left and the angle on the right, or vice versa. Time, environmentals, you see the 0 meters per second in the bottom, that's the wind speed, which I set to 0 and then I hold off for the wind, but you can input the wind or have the GPS do it, and then it will factor it out as the part of the ballistic calculator. Top right hand corner you can see that we're on the battery pack. That's the little prong, the power prong. SD card is in, we've got our ballistic calculator on, and we've got our Bluetooth on. Okay, I'll show you some settings and we will go from there. Okay guys, so the simple joypad on the top with left, right, up, down and enter in the center is quite intuitive. So we just tap enter and this takes us into our menu, which is like a mobile phone menu that goes round in a big circle. So settings is there, and if we keep going round left, we'll get back to the beginning. If we go to the right, we'll go the other way, back to the beginning. That is really going to be intuitive for anyone who's ever used a mobile phone, so that is really nicely done in my opinion. So what we've got there is exit. That takes us back to our real-time view. Okay, another tap, we're back in. So the spanner is your settings. Then there's a vertical menu here where you turn off your devices. So we've got no Wi-Fi on at the moment. A tap of the button puts that back on. That is the GPS, which basically geotags all of your videos and photos and then saves a little Google Map link onto the SD card. So when you put that on your computer, it will literally give you the whole sort of Google Earth zoom down and show you where your video is taken, which is very cool, frankly. The GPS also populates your barometric pressure and your location, your wind, your elevation for the ballistic calculator. Those features are not needed, but they are dotting the I's and crossing the T's with regard to the accuracy. And you can, it's not going to be perfectly precise, but you can, using your heading from the GPS, the compass, sorry, which is separate from the GPS, using that to say you're facing north, it can use the GPS to work out that the wind is from the west, and it will therefore auto-fill your wind speed and then factor that out in your ballistic calculation. That's some pretty advanced stuff. I like it. Okay, so that's GPS. There's Bluetooth, which is used for pairing with the rangefinder. That is the ballistic calculator, which you can have on or off. And that's recoil activated video, which doesn't work on small recoiling guns. You know, 2.2LR, rimfires, even moderated small centre fires. I think basically it needs a good shove to for the recoil activated video to work. I personally find it a lot easier just to turn the recording on as I want it, which is basically the click of one single button. So I don't really need recoil activated video myself. I haven't used that a lot. That's Wi-Fi, which is for streaming to your iPad, iPhone or whatever, which is a nice feature, but I don't turn it on until I need it because it adds about 25% to the battery draw. And that's our GPS. So at any point in that vertical menu, again, which just goes round in a cycle, just like a mobile phone or an old mobile phone, at any point you can head back left or right. Here's your environmentals, humidity, wind speed, direction, and the other three are input by the GPS. Up to the top, sorry you can't quite see it, we're slightly off the screen here. Obviously you can see it when you're looking at the device, it's just because I'm outputting to the television, but that little red dot in the top corner is a back arrow. So we navigate up to that. I'm going up and down here, you see. Go to the back arrow. It takes you back into here. Okay, so that was environment. This is distance entry. This is if you aren't using the rangefinder, but you do want to use the ballistic calculator. So you're 0 to 100, your target is at 250, you go into here and you quickly put in your range and back out. But with the rangefinder, you don't need to do that. Either way that you've done it, when you go back, it will then change your reticle to have factored that out. In other words, it's moved the scope for you. Very quick, very cool. You can see here in the bottom left-hand corner that we're up 3 centimeters, etc., etc. And that is even changing as I tilt the scope up and down. And that on my lap, as I'm showing you this, I'm moving it up and down slightly. You see a 20-degree slope there, and that actually changes the drop. So it's factoring that out all the time, which is pretty nifty stuff. Okay, back into the menu, tap of the center button, go the other way this time. This is clever. There's a day mode and a separate night mode. This is where it absolutely murders any night vision digiscope available on the market. In that the day mode is a very decent HD video. Not like the best video camera you can buy, but like a video camera from a few years ago. Very, very decent. And one of the reasons it can do that is when you switch between night mode and day mode, a little solenoid will actually draw an IR pass filter across the sensor. And that's one of the main differences between day and night, is that you need an IR filter on the lens. It just moves that across when you switch from day to night mode, which is very, very swish. So either night mode or day mode, you just tap that and it changes. The colour of the menu changes to be more night friendly, so that's night mode. And then day mode. I don't know if you can hear it on the video, but there's an ever slightly just audible little click as the solenoid moves the filter across. So there we are, that's night mode. Rangefinder. Now this uses bracketing. It's useful enough. I mean, it's something. What you can do is you can tell it that you're looking at a deer. Okay. You tell it that you are. There we go. So we say, right, we're looking at a wolf, deer, or you can manually enter it yourself for rabbit or squirrel or whatever you're using. You put that bracket on the top and you press go. So you're looking through the scope, you put that on the shoulder, then you put that at the bottom. There you go, and it will tell you what your range is. Now that isn't going to be perfect, but it's going to be a damn sight better than you guessing by eye. So that is a third way of inputting range for the ballistic calculator. You can use the rangefinder, which pings it by Bluetooth automatically. I'll show you that later. That is flawless. I absolutely love it. It is groundbreaking technology. The other way is to put it in manually, and the third way is to bracket it up and down according to the known size, like the old-fashioned milling, and then you've got your range. So down to exit. So here we are. Target is unreachable. That's because we put 621 metres in with an air rifle, and it can't move the ret low enough on the screen. So I need to basically tell it that we're at a more sensible range. Look at that, 17,300 centimetres of dope. That's a little bit extreme, so I'll just put the distance entry to something that the air rifle trajectory that I'm currently running will handle. There we go, that's a bit better. Rangefinder, distance entry, environment, and then we're back to our slider for Wi-Fi and recoil activated video and GPS. Okay, I'll show you the setup of the systems icon there in here, sub-menus for all of your preferences, so we'll go through that now. Okay, so we'll now go into the spanner, which has got a sub-menu in it, and that's your settings. Okay, so there on the top left-hand corner is back. That takes us back to here. Okay, sorry you can't quite see that clearly, so that's how we get out. So right is night vision, and then down to get to the settings. I much prefer the white, but there is green should you wish it, which is like a faux tubed NV military look. It doesn't get on with my eyes. I prefer the black and white image. Light sensitivity. Now, this was much improved by the latest firmware upgrade. Essentially, there is a tangible difference now between low and medium, but there is no video shudder. There's no delay, no latency. If you use high, the whole thing is half a second behind you as you pan, and you'll be sick as can be if you start panning around with that. And it isn't a great deal more sensitive. It doesn't suddenly improve the quality of the sensor. By a mile, I find that medium is the way to go. So that's the only two options in night vision, so we'll go back up to the menu at the top, across to photo video. You can, when you press the photo button, which when you're using the scope is simply a click left on the menu, and video, starting video is click right. You can take one photo, you can take a burst, and then you can choose how many are taken in the burst. Time-lapse, again, you can change the settings there. You can have the microphone record as you are filming. And it's quite a decent microphone as well in the X-Sight, so that is useful. You can hear, your communication between you and your spotter or whatever. It's really a decent little extra having that microphone built in. Video quality 1080p 30 frames per second. You can have it do 720 at 60 frames per second, but it won't record that. It only records 1080, so it's slightly limited. So what we're doing here is we're just tapping to enter that submenu, and then up and down to select, and then tapping again to go out. Format SD card, USB access. I haven't got that working. You should be able to plug in the power cable that gives you power from your external battery pack, in other words a micro SD. You should be able to plug that in and put the USB instead of the power pack, put it into your computer and watch the videos, but I found it unreliable, and the best way to do it is simply to take the micro SD card out of the X-Sight and put it in the card reader in the computer or your laptop. All laptops have got an SD card slot, so all you need to do is put the micro SD card from the camera in an SD card parent, which is like £2 on eBay, and then you can read it in any laptop, which is useful. Recoil activated video, you can change how long it records before the shot and how long it records afterwards. That means that it is constantly recording, constantly buffering and throwing the video away, and it only records it, it only saves it for you when it gets a shot. That is going to chew your battery, and it is going to slow the whole system down. And the system is not overly imbued with power processing wise. If you ask this system to do too much, it will start to lag and slow down. I must say that if this is to be a video of tips and trips, if this is going to be a video of tips and tricks for the X-Sight, my first hot tip would be you don't want to be using recoil activated video. To record video yourself, you have to press right on the keypad and it records. It doesn't get any easier than that. When you want to switch it off, you press right again on the menu. It is a single press. Having the camera buffer 24/7, which is how recoil activated video works, it records everything and then it cuts 10 seconds before and 10 seconds afterwards when you fire a shot. That's if it works, if you've got enough recoil. That, I'm afraid, is a gimmick too far for me, because it just doesn't have the processing power to do it. It makes everything lag. So turn recoil activated video off, and then you can do it manually with a single press. So that's my first really hot tip, I think. So out of that menu, that's us on the photo video section. So I'm going to go back up to the top, across to display. Now, screen brightness, I like it a little less bright at night. I tend to run 2. On a very sunny day I might run 4, but normally 3 is a pretty good compromise. Display widgets extended. Now if you turn that off, okay, so let me just show you what extended is, right? Okay, all the icons at the top: compass, zoom, inclinometer, angle, range, correction, wind speed, clock, all of it's there. If you turn that from extended to minimal, you can't choose one by one. I'd like to see that in future firmware, but for now you've got minimal or extended. Minimal is thus. It really means it. Just zoom and your icons for what's running at the top. I would like a compromise of the 2, but those are your options. Minimal really means minimal, and extended really means extended. And the other big one on here, of course, is reticle style. You can change the shape and the colour. There's the various shapes. I prefer that box there. You might prefer that one, Christmas tree. Mill dot type of thing. The wide open, the floating dot without the vertical stadia. That's my second favourite, that one. I think that's the default, that one there. Floating dot with larger stadia. It is up to you. And the colour, there, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, grey and black. Well, it's a dark grey really. Okay, so that's that menu there. Back up, out of display, and we're into profile and 0. I tell you what, that's quite a big chat, that one, so I'm just going to skip past that into settings. And in settings we've got units, so we can have metric or standard. date and time. That can be populated by the GPS, or you can set it manually. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, right. If you are going to connect using the Wi-Fi to stream what the scope sees real time to your phone, or to use that same app, which is called the ATN Obsidian app, which is a free app from the App Store or the Google Play Store. If you're going to do that, you need to connect this system to the Wi-Fi on your device, your iPad, say. The way you do that is you turn the Wi-Fi on here in the menu we looked at earlier, and you go to Wi-Fi on your phone, look for Wi-Fi networks, and there's one available called X-Sight. You click on that. There you go. This particular device is X-Sight_003C. So you see that in your Wi-Fi options, and you click on it, and the password for it, so it's effectively it's throwing up a Wi-Fi network for your phone to connect to. The password for that is ATN_Obsidian, and then you can log on to that network. Then when you start the ATN Obsidian app, you can see the videos that you've recorded on the device, which, by the way, means that you can run an X-Sight and look at the videos and save them and forward them and post them to Facebook and do what you want without a computer. If you don't have a computer, but you do have a mobile phone, you can still use this X-Sight to its fullest potential. So that's what's in the Wi-Fi settings here. Remote controller there, remote control orientation. This is not something that we have here, but the rangefinder I've got. You pair the rangefinder there. You simply turn the rangefinder on and you hit pair in here, and it does it, and then it stays paired, and that works flawlessly. It's a one press situation. So that's what's in these settings here. Not a lot that you'll change there frequently. It's more for reference if you forget what the Wi-Fi password is for the setting up. It's just a one-time setup, but the setup of your ATN Obsidian app on your phone. Okay, let's go back to profiles and zeros. Oh, sorry, no, we're only halfway down this settings menu. Right, geotagging on. That is where you can, as I said earlier, tag via the GPS built in any videos and photos, so that when they are saved on the SD card, there is an internet link with them. When you click on that, it opens a browser window on your computer or your phone and does the whole Google Earth location thing, which is wonderful. So if you want geotagging, you turn it on there. That's where you choose the device type. There's two types of X-Sight. I have both of them here. This is the 5-20. Here is zoom. Now, standard zoom is 5-20 on this one and 3-14 on the other. There is optical, which in this case is 5. On the 3-14 it is 3. From then on you have no optical zoom capability, no lens movement. It is simply digital zoom. And the thing with digital zoom, plain and simple, is that you are halving your resolution as you go up and quartering it. And before long it gets poor. And this doesn't have all the resolution in the world to spare. So if you go for extended zoom, you don't do any harm to 5-20. It is the same. But it enables you to go 5-25, 5-30, and much higher. It isn't a magic solution if you need more zoom, because the quality trade-off is untenable before long. By the time you get to 20, indeed, it's getting shaky, so you don't really have a realistic need for the extended option, but it is there should you need it. I must admit, on my 3-14, I have it on so that I can push the 3-14 to about 3-18 or 3-20. But I use it seldom. But it's nice that the option is there. On the 5-20, I leave it as 5-20. Restore factory settings is a full wipe. And here's the firmware version 2.1.06.2747. That's the latest firmware version. If you don't have that, you want it because it made a hell of a difference from the one before. Great improvement in stability, a great improvement in the night vision medium versus low setting, and the whole stability and speed of the unit has improved a great deal. Let's go and have a look at profiles and zero, which is a really crucial system, really crucial area. Okay, so here we are in system settings. This is the big one here, profiles and zero. So, current profile, click on that, and it shows you what you've got loaded. This is my firearms air rifle, which is great for testing the ballistic calculator on 0.4 BC. The JSB 16 grain are very slippery at the speed that I'm talking about here, because BC varies with speed. 16 grain, 920 feet per second, zero range there, and there's the sight height. Sight height is fairly important given that this is fairly tall. It depends what type of mount you use over your rifle. This is a Picatinny mount, and you may or may not need an adapter, but you can put in what your sight height is there, and that will get your trajectory really spot on. I've tested this from 5 yards, although the minimum setting is 25 yards, but I've tested it from nice and close to, with my air rifle, right out to 100 yards, which is a lot of drop, obviously, for an air rifle. And it calculates it expertly. It's very, very impressive. Same with 22LR, which is loopy as can be. It gets it spot on. This ballistic calculator is really something. So this is the kind of overview. In here is the zero reticle option. Okay, so what you do here is you tell it what range you are zeroing at. So for a centerfire you might put in 100 or whatever, air rifle or a rimfire, 45 or 50 or whatever it is that you are zeroing at. Put it in here in your profile. Put the ballistics in. Now, just to be sure, guys, if you're talking about a centerfire here, the muzzle velocity off the box is going to be very approximate. And in ballistics, especially as you get further out, the muzzle velocity is one of the big deals. Okay, so if your box says you're getting 2800 from this ammo, and you're actually getting 2650, which is perfectly possible, then your ballistic curve is going to be off, and fairly badly. So if you possibly can, you need to chronograph your ammo and put it in. Now, the experts among you will know the temperature and how that varies your feet per second. They'll be that exact. But there are a lot of people out there who think that what is written on the factory ammo box is correct, and it ain't. So try and chronograph it, put it in here. Again, you can have feet per second or meters per second depending on whether you chose standard or metric units in the menu. 16 grains, this is just an air rifle profile here, but you'd put 175 grains in or whatever your weight is, and again you can have grams should you wish. Okay, so you've told this that you are zeroing at 50 yards or 100 yards or whatever it is that you're wanting to do. You now aim at the target. Okay, so you can see you've got your reticle there. Aim at the target. Let's say that your bullet actually strikes high and right. You hold the dot on your point of aim and you move your reticle up high and right until it's in the actual bullet hole. Obviously prudent to fire 2 or 3, so you've got a a group and a nice accurate idea of where the gun's shooting. But you put the original crosshair where you aimed, this red crosshair which you move about with the up, down, left, right in the bullet hole that was actually produced, and then you hit enter. You are now, you could zoom in should you wish to make sure, because you might not want to be at 5 mag. You zoom in, but when you're happy, you hit save and exit. That moves the crosshair to the 0, corrects it all, and takes you back to the menu. At this point, you can now come out of this, back up to your little back arrow and out, and your crosshair now is zeroed at whatever it was the range that you said, 100 yards, 50 yards, whatever. What is really clever now is that by either of the 3 means you tell it the correct range for your next shot. So either the range finding laser handheld machine, or the manual input, or the bracketing input. You put that in here and it will then move that reticle for you instantly, while constantly allowing for the angle of the shot and the such like, and you'll be spot on. Now I've tested this with the air rifle at 30 yard 0. I've then tried it at 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, which is a lot of drop, and it is lethal. With the centre fire, you can set it up at 100 yards and put the ballistics in, as you've seen in that screen. Put the BC in and put the speed in, and you can say, right, this new shot is 275 yards. Boom, it's spot on. It's absolutely lethal. It really does do everything for you. Very, very impressive. So I'll show you again how that works. You've done your zeroing. By one means or another, you put the range in. You can simply pick up the rangefinder and ping, and it will do it all for you automatically in an instant. Or you can do it the slower way of going into the menu and going to the distance entry, and you put in here your new range. So we're still in air rifle mode here, so I'll put this right out at a really long way for an air rifle. Okay, and hit go. Now watch the crosshair move. We need our ballistic calculator on. My mistake, guys. Okay, it's moved us 8, 9, let me get this scope level, that's level there, just about 16 inches of dope for my 106 yards. If I tilt the rifle a bit, look at the difference it makes. Degree slope. If you start really looking up the mountain side, as it were, 25 degrees, that's 3 inches less. Anyway, I digress. So it's constantly working it out. You see how low that reticle is in the screen? It's because you obviously have to move the ret down to move the shot up. And there we have it. If you want to use a different rifle, so, settings, cross to profiles and 0. Okay, and we're now not on current, which is our air rifle. We're going to other. Now note how you can save these on your SD card and then import them later, should you wish. But you can also save them in the scope, so there's no real need for that. But go to other, and I've got various other profiles here. Profile 1 is our air rifle, and that's current. And we've got 2, 3, you can have various others. Let's go to profile 2. We'll load that. That's now the current one. Back to current in the previous menu. And here we have G1, 0.5, 150 grains. So let's edit that. let's say it's a G1BC for now. I'll put in my, let's put my 204 in. 0.27, 40 grains, 3,800 feet per second. It would be nice to be able to put various ones in so that it would factor the temperature spread out. That would be more advanced for me, but this is not bad. 3,800. Zero range is 175. You see what I'm doing here? I'm choosing the menu to go left and right. 0.00. Okay, and the sight height on this rifle is 2.4 inches. That's the center of the scope from the center of the bore. That is now going to be able to calculate my ballistics when I zero at 175 yards. So, go to my 175 yard target, hit zero reticle, shoot at the target, move the crosshair to where the bullet actually hits, hit enter, save and exit. I'm now zeroed with my 204, 175 yards. It's as simple as that. If I now go out of this menu, back to our little arrow at the top and back to real time, I can ping a range with my rangefinder, 280 yards, and it will move the ret for me. So at the moment if you look at the bottom left hand corner, we are essentially at zero. If I emulate using the rangefinder, because I'm inside now, I can't do it, but I'm going to emulate doing the rangefinder by actually putting the distance in manually. Let's put in 200 and, well, let's get out there a bit, 375 yards. Okay, that. Boom. See the ret move down, 11 inches of dope, we're on. It's done. Instant. And that will be bang on. I've tested it, and there are more advanced ballistic engines with more inputs, temperature stability and Coriolis and such like, but frankly that is for half-mile rabbits. This is for slightly bigger targets, slightly closer, but still very precise. You're certainly going to be within, I'd have thought you'd be within a half minute with this type of prediction, especially if you are careful putting the right BC in and the right speed. It's great that you can put a G7 in, a G7 BC. That's going to be much more accurate. And the G7 BC, for example, that Brian Litz gives is an average single figure, and it is from 3,000 to 1,500 feet per second. So you've got a pretty good single figure there for this calculator, and it's then going to get you out there nice and accurately. You're not going to be using these X-Sights at huge range on tiny targets because you haven't got the resolution or the zoom for it. For me, they're absolutely magic at closer ranges where a 3 to 14 or a 5 to 20 is acceptable. So, I mean, obviously that is a whole can of worms, you know, how big, how far type of thing. But at stalking ranges and for rimfire, they're just absolutely fantastic. You can ping your target, it says, right, it's 93 yards, it adjusts the dope by the time you've picked the scope back up from picking the rangefinder up and pinging the 92 yards, and you're on. I mean, it's just really, really useful. So that is the fundamentals of how you use this menu. Single touch to go in. You can turn on or off what you want on this slider here. So Wi-Fi, GPS, Bluetooth, ballistic CALC. Oh, and recoil activated video, which is the only feature that I think just really it can't quite live with. Environment, you don't normally have to touch that a lot, apart from when you want it to do the wind for you. If you want it to factor out the wind, I'll just show you this now. Say you put in here that you've got a 10-mile-an-hour wind. From the southeast, hit that back to your main screen, and it has allowed, because our bearing is northeast, it's allowed 13 inches at 375 yards. It's allowed 13 inches of wind. If we move our compass round, in other words we move our direction of fire round, there you go, northwest, it's only 2 inches because you're almost into the wind. And as we tilt round, the compass corrects, and it's a real-time calculation. Very, very clever stuff. So let's take that out. If we put this on 0, it will do the dope and we do the wind. Okay, so that's now just doing the elevation for me, and I'm doing the wind myself. Now, if you want to just zero this thing and go shooting and hold over and hold under and do your thing, what you do is you turn off the ballistic calculator. Ballistic calculator off, thank you very much. Go into your settings, and all you will have done is zeroed. You don't need to put the ballistics in, you don't need to put the speed in, you don't need to do any of that. You simply go to current, zero the ret. It's probably prudent to tell it what range it is, actually. So tell it that you're at 100 yards. Zero your scope by shooting on the crosshair. Move the red one with the up, down, left, right to where the bullet actually hits, wherever that might be. Hit OK when you've actually done that. Save it. Your scope is now zeroed. You go back to your shooting screen. That reticle won't move, it won't mess about. That is just your 100-yard zero. If you're aiming at something at 200 yards, then you obviously aim a bit up in the normal way you would with a crosshair, and it will just simply do that for you, like a dumb scope. I think that using the combination with the LRF rangefinder is completely flawless. I know it's another few £100, but it's a decent little rangefinder, and it works completely perfectly with this scope. So putting your ballistics in and then having it calculate it for you is fantastic, because then you can just concern yourself with making really good wind calls. If you're not worried about your elevation, you do tend to make better wind calls because you've got that headspace to concentrate on the wind, which is your real enemy, really. These ballistic calculators will sort your elevation out flawlessly. You can just let the science do it.